We had a big market sell-off on Friday, but from a technical perspective, we were overbought and set up for a pullback. Trump and the trade fight with China was just the catalyst that gave us the reason for the market to set up and have a pullback on Friday. The big pullback did not feel good, but it was expected, and we probably will pull back a little bit more. And we need to take a look from a technical perspective where we may want to start buying this market because I expect it to rally through the end of the year. Today, I'm going to hit on the S&P 500 setup and where I expect the market to be heading over the next couple of weeks. Then we'll jump into Nvidia, Taiwan Semiconductor, and finish up with Coherent. So let's dive into the charts. Let's start by taking a look at the seasonal pattern on the S&P 500 futures. As you can see here, and if you watched my video back in September, I was concerned about the September seasonal decline. We didn't have that this year, and we had one of the best Septembers on record, which I think kind of set us up for this pullback we're experiencing right now with the trade fight going on. But as the news has highlighted, the 100% tariffs aren't going to go into effect till November 1st. So really, we have 2 weeks here for China and Trump to work things out. But the key piece here from a seasonal perspective is we are right where we should be forming the bottom and starting our end of the year rally. So right now, this is just following what could be the pattern. This coming week, we could have an additional pullback in the market, then form our bottom and make our move into the end of the year. Now let's go take a look at the demark indicators because they were showing clear buying exhaustion heading into this week. This is the weekly chart of the S&P 500. You can see back here on a weekly perspective, we had the 9 buy setup that aligned with the April lows, and we have shot higher since then. We had the 9 sell setup here that started this count for combo and sequential. Last week, we had the combo sell setup or buying exhaustion, as we call it. And then this last week, even with Friday's pullback, we had sequential confirm a buying exhaustion setup as well. So you can see here in the market, we were hitting levels of extreme exhaustion from a buying perspective. And the news on Friday really was just that catalyst that gave us a reason to sell off. So where could we go next? Let's take a look at the daily chart. Here on the daily chart, you can see that brutal sell-off we had on Friday. But the important thing and interesting thing to this as well is we had already triggered a propulsion, which is one of my nice indicators to show what we can expect from a move higher or lower. And from a propulsion perspective on Friday, this was triggered when the market opened higher. It's calling for a pullback for the first initial level right here at 650.31. We're almost there already from Friday's pullback as well. We're probably going to move through that on Monday unless we have some outstanding news that comes out. Possible level below that is 626.65. I think this is actually a really important level. Takes us back to the July highs in here. Really, I think 640 is a better area for us to see resistance. But coming in the next week, if you're looking to get long in the S&P 500 and the market in general, 650 looks like a good buying opportunity, followed by really, if we hit 626, this is going to be a brutal sell-off, and we're going to see a concerned move lower. But this area around here, 640, should be areas of resistance if you're looking to add to your S&P 500 positions in this pullback. Now, let's take a look at Nvidia, because this may be the gift we've all been waiting for when it comes to these AI stocks. Here on the daily chart of Nvidia, you see very similar setup and pullback indications that we saw on the S&P 500. We had an indication from the propulsion indicator that we could have a pullback in Nvidia coming back down to, let's call it the 179 level. Next area propulsion is calling for possibly with Nvidia is 162.37. That would be an enormous pullback in Nvidia. I don't see that happening. I think the market will be buying Nvidia heavily if we get close to this 170 area. So this week, I'm going to be targeting adding to my Nvidia position around 179 initially. And if we start to fall further from there, I think 170 will be a great area of resistance and an opportunity to add to Nvidia ahead of their earnings, which still won't be out for about 6 weeks. But we do have a nice leading indicator on the AI build out coming on Friday with Taiwan Semiconductor's earnings. So let's take a look at the setup in Taiwan Semiconductor. As you can see here on a weekly basis, the Taiwan Semiconductor chart looks very similar to the S&P 500. We came up, got our combo 13 buying exhaustion indicator this week on a weekly basis in Taiwan Semiconductor. So pullback was expected here as well. But on a daily perspective, you can see here, we actually had the propulsion indicator call for a pullback in Taiwan Semiconductor on October 6th, opposed to Friday, where we've seen it with some of the other ones. We've already hit the first level of area of pullback that it was calling for, and now we have 261 as the next area. But as I mentioned, Taiwan Semiconductor is reporting earnings on Friday, and we do have a slight preview into what their earnings could look like based on their monthly sales. If we take a look at that over here, we can see that Taiwan Semiconductor is having great sales August through September already. We won't see the October number until the earnings are released on Friday. But if we have a blowout October revenue, this should be very good for Nvidia and the AI trade in general, because it means there's been a heavy production to match orders in the third quarter. Next, let's take a look and finish up with Coherent. If you're new to my channel and Coherent, this is one of my favorite AI plays that I've been talking about for over a year now. We had a nasty pullback in April, and then we had what I called, clearly on my video, you can go back and see it from August, the earnings sell-off on what was actually good earnings, with a prediction of just a little bit soft revenue here in Q3. Back when that occurred, I called for us to hold this level here. That was a clearly defined TDST line, and then move back to new highs before we push through, and this stock will continue after breaking out of those new highs. Well, that developed perfectly. And as you can see here, it's a great example of Propulsion called this move higher as well. We hit the first area and then the second area on Thursday. But the area on Thursday actually triggered a indication that we could have a pullback coming in the future. And that did start with the Trump-China news on Friday. We pulled back through the initial level of 113. And it does look like to me that this week, if we have followed through in the market, that Coherent could pull back into the 103, 104 area. I think if we get this move down to 104, it is a great opportunity for us to add to Coherent or start a new position if you don't have one yet. I advise you to go out there and take a look at the fundamentals and Coherent's positioning in the data transceiver market in the AI data center build out. They are must have for many companies, but purely from a technical perspective, this stock is trading just as I expected. We came up, hit those highs. We're having a pullback now, a little bit of area consolidation, which then should push this stock back through its all-time highs, maybe before earnings or maybe after earnings that are, I think, due to come out in about 4 weeks. Thank you for watching Big Picture Investing. I'm Kevin McCormack. If you haven't yet, please hit like and subscribe on my channel. In addition to trading videos like this, I do AI curated earnings release videos, which will be coming out hot and heavy as we swing into earnings this week in the market, which I think will help us consolidate and make that year-end move higher as we await news that the Trump and China trade fight has been resolved before November 1st. Good luck with your trading, and I'll see you next time.